Hi everyone, so glad you're here today. I join you with a full face of makeup on except for blush. That feels really strange, but this video is about blush, so I'll be putting some different ones on. I'll probably be layering multiple blushes on today. But as I mentioned in a recent video, we've got a lot of different new cream blushes out right now, and I thought that situation definitely calls for sort of a roundup in comparison. We've got new cream blushes from Lawless that look like this. We've got new cream blushes from Buxom that look like that. I've got a couple of new colors in one of my favorite cream blush formulas, which are the Persona Dream Sticks. And then we've got these Complexion Rescue highlighting blushes and also bronzers. Bare Minerals has some hybrid liquid products out right now, so I thought let's just talk about all of this in one video. Before I get into the blushes, I do want to talk about what's already on my face because I used a rediscovered combo that I absolutely love. I used this mix of products yesterday and I was kind of astounded at the staying power, but I already knew it was good. I've already talked about, like, I don't know, a year or so ago how good this combo is. But it's the Lumi Glotion. I use the Deep Glow. It gives me a little bit more bronzy look on the skin, but it's still very sheer. It's definitely glowy. But then you pair that with the True Match Nude Hyaluronic Tinted Serum, which I'm about out of. Shade 2-3 Light is mine, and they just look beautiful on. Yesterday I blended this out with a sponge, but I actually do prefer the overall look when you blend it with a brush. But staying power was just phenomenal yesterday. I put on e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. I set that with Maybelline Fit Me Loose Powder. I put on my NYX Buttermelt Bronzer in the shade Deserve Butter. Looks like this. I've got it around the hairline and a little soft contour. I did set lightly elsewhere all over the face. I mean, this stuff isn't really sticky, but I just thought it'll give me the best staying power if I use a light amount of Maybelline Super Stay. That's been kind of my hip pocket staying power trick. On my eyes, I pulled in my Natasha Denona Hypernatural Face Palette, and I just used, let's see, I used some of these shades first, and then mostly this on my eyes with a little bit of this brightening up on the inner part of the eye. So just kind of soft, natural taupey. On my lips, I just have some lip oil at this point. I got the new Wet n Wild lip oil, which smells so good. I'm obsessed with the scent. It's just like straight up sweet. I can't even attach that term to anything else. It's just a sweet lip oil, and the shade is Cedar Rose. Very sheer, corally, soft red. So now we can get into the blush and add in that missing piece. And I want to first talk about Lawless. They've got a really good formula going here in their Pinch My Cheeks Soft Blur Cream Blushes. So we have 6 different shades, and yeah, this stuff was all sent to me in PR. That's why I have so many shades. They've got 3 softer shades and 3 shades that are a bit more bold. We have this one called Starburst. It's kind of like your most classic middle of the road peach. Then Rosebud, I look at this and I say that's Dusty Rose. That's a classic Dusty Rose. I'll get into talking about the formula more in a second, but it's definitely creamy at the touch, but then blends out to feel very velvety. And actually I've had really good staying power with these, even with the softer colors, which has impressed me. Angel got applied in my last video, I believe it was. So that's like an even softer take on Rosebud. Let's see those together. See how Angel is just a bit more nude, not quite as much mauve-y richness as Rosebud has. So to me, those are our softer, most natural 3 options from this line. And by the way, they're all creamy. You're not going to find any shimmer in these. And then we have Gumdrop for all the cool pink lovers. Very pretty cool pink. Valentine is more of a hot pink, as you can see. These are reminding me of some shades that came out in the ColourPop Valentine's Day heart-shaped cream blush. And then Cherry Pie definitely incorporates a bit more red, I think, compared to Valentine. So those are your 2, I think, most bright and bold shades. And this one's kind of a fun hot pink. But what I enjoy about the formula, again, is the staying power. And I like how I don't have to really be too careful with these, even with a brighter shade, as I can maybe show you with one of these. Cherry Pie is probably my favorite. It's kind of unique for some of the cream blushes I have, but I would take a 56 brush straight in and just start dabbing, and there is kind of a blurring effect, as I mentioned in the last video where I applied Angel. I had very glowy skin. I'd used the Charlotte Tilbury stick, and I actually felt like this formula going over the cheeks made my cheeks look a bit more blurred in areas where I was kind of having some pore concerns, you know? Pores looking a lot more visible. But do you see how, like, I'm taking a casual dab in, I'm not being careful, and I'm getting a soft sheerness out of this blush. Now, I'm not saying you couldn't get a much more intense look. I mean, look what happens when you just stick a finger in, okay? But the brush going into these gives a really approachable vibe to the blush. I'm really not worried about going too far with any one of these, especially I'd call this one maybe the most intense. It just works into the skin super easily, really softly, and again, kind of a matte blurring effect. And there's no added dewiness. Like, you touch your skin, it doesn't feel any different from when you might have just put on a powder blush, okay? So to me, I give these definitely a thumbs up in the user-friendly department. They're really pretty on the cheeks. Again, this is Cherry Pie. This is a pretty bold color option that I applied with a lot of ease today. Now, the next line I want to talk about is Buxom. We have 5 of these Plump Shot Collagen Peptides Advanced Plumping Blush, and these are kind of a moisture-filled blush, okay? If you put on a cream blush and you think, I really want that to feel creamy and I want the consistency of it to feel very, very creamy, then maybe this is what you want to try. When you touch this product, it feels smooth and creamy. It kind of reminds me of the Milani cream blushes, only even more of a creaminess coming off that pan in a very opaque way. I'm holding this shade here called Blissful Buff, and it's kind of an interesting color because it looks like almost a little beigey. You're wondering what that might do. It's actually really pretty on the cheeks. Again, you can try the idea of just putting a blush brush or a, you know, whatever you like to use for cream blush in there, and I can start blending this out, and it's just very earthy and super pretty, but it's ultra creamy and ultra pigmented, okay? This is the softest shade of the bunch, and I'm just dabbing that on, and you can just notice a lot of product quickly coming off on your brush. This is not a product you'd really have to be building a lot. You'd immediately probably have the color you want. And you could also take the approach of just dabbing a few dots on your cheeks if you really want to control it in a different way. But I think this shade is very easy, nice, works with anything, but I touch my cheeks afterwards. I don't feel sticky, but I feel definitely more moisture than I did when I applied the Lawless. So we've got Blissful Buff. This one is Coral Cheer. We're talking a nice soft peach. Gosh, they're just so creamy to the touch. This comes off as a really light peach on the cheeks. We have what feels like a really classic pink here with Tickled Pink. It's a little bit on the cooler side from the next one I'm going to mention, which is Berry Glam. Looking at these two together, Berry Glam definitely has more depth and richness, but there's also a little more warmth in this one too. This one has a lot of range, you know, so you're going to get some on and it's got the potential to really show a lot, but you can sheer it out and kind of apply it in whatever method works for you. And then this one is Cheeky Dolly. Let's see that one compared to the Berry. They look really similar. I would say Cheeky Dolly actually is a bit more mauve. That's the one on my middle finger, and then the Berry Glam is on this finger. And maybe you can just tell, like, as you look at that pan and what my finger being in it has done, there is a lot of moisture in these blushes, and it's not sticky, it's not overwhelming, they do blend easily, but to me those feel like a little bit more of a fast track to the color on your cheeks, whereas the Lawless ones seem to offer a bit more of a slow build and something you don't really have to watch yourself with, even with the most bold shades. Now let's mention these from Persona. So the Persona Dream Sticks, they're multi-sticks for lip and cheek. That's one of my favorite cream blush products for sure. And I love it when they release new colors. They now have 2 new ones. One is Georgia and one is Carmel. Now Georgia I have actually in a powder formula blush from Persona, and now they're giving us the cream stick. It's so pretty. I'll have to work that into a video where you can totally see that in action. To me, that's like a perfect depth level of peach. And then Carmel, this one makes me think of a mauve type of color, which they definitely didn't already have in their lineup. And something you'll notice with these, there's a good amount of moisture in them. They feel kind of like the Buxom ones, only a little more solid, but you'll notice immediate pigment. If you swipe this across your cheek, it's like, yeah, bam, there's a lot going on there. I'm gonna dab off my lip oil and do a little bit of this caramel shade on here, just so you can see a little bit of that shade. Like, isn't that pretty? Now picture that shade also on the cheeks a little bit. I'm really loving a good monochromatic look, and that pulls it off so well. And I just kind of like how they've slowly added to this range over time. They've got a beautiful shade called Jam if you like berry. If you want straight up red, the one called Kiss is great too. And with the addition of these two shades, I feel like this line is really loaded with good options. Next up, we've got the absolute juiciest, dewiest thing in the mix, and it's these products from Bare Minerals. So I'm first up holding these Complexion Rescue Bronzers. So they're a blush bronzer in a squeeze tube. Certain ones, there's a couple that veer maybe a little bit more toward the bronzy end, and there are others that definitely, I think, perform like blushes. Something to know about these, they will leave a dewy finish. You may be tempted to set it. Anytime I use these, I really feel like I want to set it for staying power's sake. This is just a personal thing, but I don't ever like the feel that if something comes up against my face and touches it, that makeup might possibly transfer off. I don't do well with that feel. So to use these and make them kind of stand alone, like you gotta really sheer them out if you don't want to feel that texture. There are a couple of shades that veer, I think, a little bit away from the actual blushy feel. One of them is Kiss of Copper. In addition to being kind of a dewy texture, there's a thinness, but yet a dewiness, definite moisture in these, but there's also glow. There's some shimmer and sheen, and in this Kiss of Copper, it makes me kind of think of something that you might actually like hit the hairline with or go over some different parts of your face with. Like if I wanted to get that on my fingers now and kind of dab it around my hairline, that Kiss of Copper has the most bronzer-like feel. And then there's Kiss of Spice, which is kind of similar in that respect. When I first squeeze it out, see how it looks downright golden? And then in a swatch, you can see more gold. That almost makes me think of some of the goldeny tone bronzing drops that are out. But the feel of these, they almost feel like you've mixed some Vaseline in with a liquid blush product. But this one, as this shears out, this one just really ends up giving shimmer, and the pigment in it just melts away, it seems like. But those are the two most bronzy options. And then we've got three here that go more toward blush. I'm gonna get them all swatched so you can see them side by side. See how dewy and shiny these are? This is Kiss of Pink. This is Kiss of Rose, and this is Kiss of Mauve. I maybe didn't get the best swatch there of Mauve, but that one to me feels like it gives the most blushy color offering actually once it's sheared out. Kiss of Rose goes a little more earthy once blended into the skin. If you see that one kind of shear out a bit, it's got a little more like brown quality, whereas the Mauve seems to really maintain the color. The pink is soft. Again, all have shimmer. All will have shimmer, and all will have this very juicy texture. I'm gonna apply a little bit of the Kiss of Mauve for you so you can see what I'm talking about on my skin. I've squeezed out a little bit. I'm gonna dab some here right on the cheek. I know we're layering up on other blushes, but we're talking texture with this one. I want you to see, hopefully, what I've been talking about here. Juicy, juicy, juicy. Take your brush. I'm gonna dab that in. See what I mean about how this one really has pigment you can see? A very blushy pigment with these hybrid products. It's like, well, is it more of a blush or more of a bronzer? Well, overall, 3 out of the 5 are more like blushes. What I think you're seeing here is kind of a highlighter optional skin type of glow to touch my cheeks. I don't have that much on, but it feels kind of tacky. Honestly, on top of the base stuff that I'm wearing, this might be the best base look underneath. I really felt like my face looked overall matte before I started in with the blushes, and it took on this product really well, but yeah, it will feel a little tacky to the touch. And like just wiping that off my skin, they left so much moisture behind. My hand feels really soft right now and very moisturized. But yeah, we all have different preferences when it comes to the textures of these cream products, and if you like something that's really gonna add moisture and juice and hydration to your skin, you may be into these products, but just know that it's those 3 of the 5 that come off in the most blushy way. And then we have these highlighting blushes. So the others were in more of like a tan packaging, and these are pink. And I gotta say, with these especially, it seems like the tubes are so full of air. There's one of these that I'm gonna get to that like I just had to squeeze it like a toothpaste tube that was about out of product, and it's brand new. They gotta watch the fill on these things because it's not happening with some of them. So again, they call these highlighting blush. The one I've swatched here is the Mauve Glow. Very same texture feel as the last ones I explained, but see how these are a step lighter, even more shimmer. This one just has a little bit of a pinky shimmer tone in it. Next to that, I've swatched the Rose Glow. You can see how it's got some pinky tone as well, but less intense, more toward the highlighter side, definitely less toward the blush side. And then Pink Glow is next. It looks a lot like Rose Glow, and I mean, once those get sheared out on the cheeks, they're looking about the same. Really up close, if I had to differentiate, I might say that Pink Glow is a hint warmer perhaps, but they look really, really similar. Next, I'm going to show our Peach Glow, and while I'm at it, I will swatch the Opal Glow as well. Oh, you got to squeeze the tube so much to get anything out. Peach Glow, hopefully it's showing that's definitely the warmest of all of them. While I think the light's just catching them all and they're all looking so similar, this one definitely has a peachy warmth to it. And then Opal is the one that looks most like a straight up just, it's not even trying to be blush. It's all highlighter with that. I'm going to take 2 of these to play with a little bit. We're going to add a little bit of Mauve Glow on top of, again, it was the Kiss of Mauve bronzer. We'll put a little bit of that and then a little bit of the Opal with it to give that distinctly highlighted effect. But this is probably the most colorful, like, is it a blush? One in this line. And I just want you to see, like, it's going to give glow, but it's very light on any color. It is pretty. Like, that's a beautiful look, but I'm making a big effort to shear that out over kind of a broad surface area of the skin so I don't end up too concentratedly glowy in one spot. Now I am feeling dewy to the point where I'd really want to set that to get through the day, I gotta say. And unfortunately, you know, that does scale back some of your glow. Not that you'd have to layer 2 of these products up, but I'm just saying. And then Opal Glow, they've still got that title of highlighting blush on it, but this ain't like a blush at all. This is like pure highlighter. I mean, you see that on my fingertips? Really highlighter-esque. Maybe I'll just take this one up higher so it's kind of out of the zone of where I've been layering things up. And maybe we can just put a little bit right here too. This is just a little Real Techniques brush that is from a set and it ended up working out really well for cream highlights. Just pressing it in, trying not to really rake it across my skin and change what's going on underneath. And a big question you may have is, given the texture of these, is it messing up everything underneath? Does it feel like it's disrupting the foundation that you've applied? I would say with careful application, no. I still feel like I've got coverage in the places where I've put this stuff on. But if you layer 2 or more, you're gonna have an absolutely juicy to the touch feel, and you already have some of that with just 1. Applying 1, it's sort of give or take, like, well, maybe I could be okay not setting that. But if it's 2 or more, for me personally, I'm gonna wanna throw something on there. So what does that look like? You could pair a powder blush or even like a shimmery powder blush if you really wanted to maintain glow, or very, very lightly, you could take some kind of setting powder like a Kosas Cloud set and just give a little dab on top. And if that dab is light enough and sheer enough, you will still see some luminosity coming through. But already, yeah, does not feel as tacky with just a little bit of powder. So it's not like these can't be worked with, but I just want you to know it can be hard to describe and translate through the camera exactly what it is we're working with here, right? So on my lips right now, I've got that caramel shade. I want like just a little more color. I'm gonna layer up the mauve shade of my e.l.f. Cream Glide here, see what that does to it. Oh yeah, I like that. And then some gloss. Let's take Lifter Gloss and Moon. It's got a little shimmer. How's that lip combo for you? All right, friends, so I hope this sorted out some things about some new cream and liquid blushes that are out. I will say, as a whole, I'm not so big on these products for a couple of reasons, as I explained, the texture thing, but also these squeeze tubes largely do not feel very full of product. Especially with these highlighting ones, for whatever reason, I was really squeezing to get anything out, and I just don't feel like that should be the case with a brand new product. They could be good for for a person who has extremely dry, extremely dehydrated skin, who is really looking for every bit of moisture they can get out of their actual makeup products, not just skincare. So, you know, you get to that step of highlighter and you're thinking, I want more richness, more moisture, more dewiness, then you might really like playing with that texture. But those are probably my least favorite thing personally that I talked about. I absolutely love those new Persona sticks. I love both of the colors and I'm excited to use those in videos going forward where I focus on maybe some different monochromatic looks. I think this Buxom formula is really quite good. The shades don't get me super jazzed up. Like, I like them, they're good, but like I go from Tickled Pink to Berry Glam to Cheeky Dolly and everything's just kind of staying in a very similar lane. Maybe that's why I like the Blissful Buff a little bit more, because it sort of sets itself apart from those. And then we do have this peach that's a little on the light side, so I would say amazing formula, but I'm not as thrilled with the shades. The all-around favorite for me is probably the Lawless, because number one, I think every shade is really pretty. It's a beautiful variance in shades, and I also like the effortless quality of application and the way it literally does do what it says. It's a soft blur cream blush. It does do some blurring on the skin and it wears a really long time. But texture-wise, it's like the polar opposite with this stuff. So this dewiness, you can feel this, you really can't feel it on the skin. It's lightweight, it is buildable. If you want a fast track to color with these, dab some off on your finger and literally dot it on your cheeks and then blend it out. But the softer take is dipping straight in with the brush. But yeah, that's my takeaway on these blushes, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sure as soon as the video's up, there'll have been 5 new cream blushes already launched. That's just the thing of the moment, it seems like. But if you've tried any of these and want to share a little mini review in the comments section, that would be awesome. And I will see you all again very soon. I love you. Bye.